Welcome everybody! In this video I'm trying to comment on a couple of news that we got in the last couple of days, and I will try to summarize them or put them into context and into relation to each other in order to kind of distill the bigger picture here, because well, right now NIO stock is pinned. You can see it's barely moving. It's between $3.50 to $4 range, so not much happening, not a lot of volume until the last couple of days maybe only, but quite some significant news flow recently, and I'm not here to repeat the news. I think there are others out there who are reporting on the news each of the days, but what I'm trying to do is to give you the analysis for it. So I'm trying to make it as valuable as possible. Please stick around to the end to the video, and that way you hopefully get the fullest out of that. Speaking of that, some people are asking me whether or not I'm going to open my Patreon community again. Yes, at some point, but until then, right now, there is the option also, if you want the Patreon-only videos, you can either become a subscriber on Twitter, on X, or you can also become, that's maybe the simplest version, a YouTube member of this channel, and you get videos also on some of the smaller caps that I'm covering, like SAP Health or Xunlei, for example, but also market movement commentary, which I usually don't put on the public channel currently. Anyways, now back to the video, which is about NIO, and how do I start? Well, I would summarize that we are currently at really a plan A versus plan B scenario that NIO is also themselves realizing and preparing for. Let's call plan A the optimistic scenario. We're going to reach a certain amount of sales and we're going to reach Q4 profitability, which, to repeat myself, I think is possible by the numbers, but not necessarily with this 100% year-over-year growth in the delivery numbers, but more on that later, versus the scenario B, in which those targets are not being met. And well, what's the future of NIO then, right? Where do things head? And so, one of the news that we had just a couple of days ago, or weeks by now, is that NIO has hired a new position, a person who is possibly reaching out to capital markets, but also is in charge possibly of M&A, mergers and acquisitions. And that should be a very interesting, important hire in the current situation of NIO. And I think the other news flow that we got recently is relating to that. So I'm trying to put it into a perspective how I think this person is trying to kind of play with the both two scenarios, play plan A and plan B, with either succeeding in the goals that have been set for this year, or what's happened in a worst case scenario if those plans are not being met. I think there's a tremendous task for this person, but we can see NIO's taking the steps, and I'm trying to think from Liebin's, from NIO's perspective, but also in the perspective of this guy, what are the options out there, the cards on the table. Now, just this week, we just got another update regarding the battery asset management company. The English name is Miratary. It's a company that was founded long ago. It's managing the assets, has all of the batteries on the balance sheet that NIO is using for BaaS, Battery as a Service. And we've seen in the past that CATL is getting more and more interested in getting a bigger share of that business. They have been interested in that business in the beginning. They have been a shareholder in the past, but over time, they also have taken some measures in that company, and CATL only owned, I think, 10% in that one, and has now possibly upped their stake. So that's coming together with a couple of other rumors and also news. So yeah, we had the announcements in the past that CATL wants more share of NIO Power and the NIO battery swapping business, and they are also betting themselves rather heavily now on battery swapping on top. I commented in previous videos that I think that this is a clear move to diversify out of their pure manufacturing business, and that they will be likely in the need of a partner like NIO. NIO has the infrastructure, NIO has the experience, NIO has the consumer-facing side. So makes a lot of sense for them to partner up with NIO in various terms. And now they are also increasing their stake in this battery asset management company, which in itself is also news. But I try to, as I said, pinch some news here together and analyze it. And, with this M&A type of guy being hired, there clearly seems to be, some ways for spin-outs of parts of the companies or new investments of parts of the businesses that NIO is currently active in, and CATL seemingly being very, very interested in parts of that. So this might be one of the M&A parts where this guy is being responsible from the NIO side, and clearly there are options in the ways this could be done, right? This could be done in a sense of, NIO could spin it out as an IPO in Hong Kong, or let CATL take a larger stake in either NIO Power or the battery asset management company, which has now happened. But also in the future, at some point, NIO may even sell off parts of that sort of businesses in order to raise cash. Now we have another news in the last couple of days, which is about NIO increasing the registered capital of some Chinese entities. And while there have been rumors out there around NIO has made another capital raise, or Abu Dhabi is coming in, taking another 20% of NIO, I think those rumors sound not credible. They are certainly not confirmed right now, because otherwise, if let's say Abu Dhabi would have taken another 20% stake in NIO, then we surely would have known via an SEC filing by now, and that hasn't happened. But what they may have been referring to is those capital increases in some of the NIO subsidies and entities which are in mainland China. So in a sense, how I interpret that is that there's mainly money flowing internally, and NIO is capitalizing those Chinese entities better in order to make moves on maybe future M&A deals, maybe future IPOs, maybe future spin-outs, or maybe future domestic funding via more conservative channels, not necessarily raising capital, but maybe tapping into the normal debt markets and, either issuing bonds or, just accessing finance. In China, you can get low interest rates on corporate debt, and when NIO is capitalizing their Chinese businesses and entities better, that might be the case that, they could access capital at a much lower rate. So lots of options there, and certainly things are moving. And, I'm seeing that as a kind of, positioning here by this M&A guy, this new person for NIO Capital, that in either case, plan A or plan B comes out, the options are there and can be done immediately. And I think at this point, this is also why NIO's stock is really pinned where they are, because none of the news is really moving the stock, right? People, mainly, I guess, institutional investors, they are looking for answers here. They're looking for clarity, and we don't have that clarity yet. We don't have a statement, for example, by this new guy who is possibly speaking with all of those institutions. So I'm actually also thinking that he's reaching out to them, clarifying their plans and telling them what they're doing, having a roadmap in place and explaining themselves. So the positive here from that move of hiring this person is there is possibly a better investor relations going on the institutional side, not so much yet on the retail side, right? And that is also the danger here for the retail investors. We don't really know. We are the latest to hear about what will be the decision, and also it's not clear what will be our role in this future of those different scenarios and how they're going to pan out. Like, if there's going to be a spin out of any sort, like how will NIO, ADR and retail investors benefit from that? Will the share price rise or not? Will we be dragged along in those deals or not? That's the question. And well, we'll see. Maybe this person, which is also in charge of speaking to institutions, but hopefully also us, will be reaching out to us at some point or has a message for us. So far, I messaged also with NIO Public Relations and asked them whether or not they're going to issue a statement on this new hiring. They said, no, we're not going to do that. well, maybe at some point they have something to tell us. But as you can see, this is being executed and planned in the background, and the options are plenty. Now, again, on the bullish and positive side here, we do have more and more indication that the positive scenario, plan A, might be playing out here, right? We have the L90 launch, which first time ever, again, after the ET5, really showing this traction in terms of people are going to the showrooms. I think it's a fantastic car. I think from what I've seen so far, I've seen it in person in the Shanghai Auto Show, not the interior yet, but I mean, this, especially at this price, looks really, really good, and a potential large catalyst. And I think what, from my point of view, as I've been always quite outspokenly bearish or pessimistic on Onvo and the L60 at least, I think this could really help Onvo as a brand to get a new face, a new sort of branding and standing. People are talking about this new car, and I always thought it's not a good idea to go one-on-one versus the Model Y, and now this Onvo brand is becoming more of that than just the L60. So I think actually the L90 could be selling more than the L60, and it could contribute to this overall brand growth of the Onvo brand. So that's very positive, and that could help the overall case of the scenario A of things are panning out like they should, achieving Q4 profitability, achieving high growth numbers year over year, 30 to 50% range year over year. I think that might be enough in conjunction with the cost cuts. And that gives also the guy who has been hired for capital markets, some better options also for speaking with the institutions and retail investors again, and position NIO in a way that they may be in the future be able again to really increase their stock price, and therefore also been more consistent in the messaging to the markets, and institutions may come back in, and at that point there might be a better outlook, a clearer outlook, and even despite there might be future dilution or future fundraisers, I think that wouldn't be seen as badly or negatively anymore as a company that is in distress. No, it would rather become more systematic and more accepted in the future. That all if Plan A is coming to fruition. Another news we got this week was about JAC and NIO. This collaboration is officially over in terms of their partnership, and I've talked about that in my past views and previous videos where I said how much this could also help in NIO in terms of margins and cost savings, because according to my estimations they are paying around up to, and that's by the official SEC filings of NIO, up to $1,300 per car sold to JAC. So now the question, when this deal is now officially over, is how much have they already phased out with this manufacturing under this kind of collaboration agreement, or is it only now kicking in that NIO doesn't have to pay anymore to JAC? If that's the case, this would be a huge boost to the margins, and with that, again, Plan A gets more serious. So it's really at the verge of either things are going very well and the future is bright, or scenario B, which is very uncertain, especially for us retail investors. We don't really know what would be the backup plan. Certainly NIO has made its preparations for both scenarios, and in Plan B scenario, the situation is now with the capitalization of the Chinese entities and having people like, or companies like CATL and probably others interested in parts of the businesses, providing exit liquidities or future alternatives for fundraising that don't necessarily depend on raising it in public markets, like by diluting ADR shareholders and stuff. But again, I would really like to see NIO coming out, also speaking to the retail investors, and this new role possibly having something to say to us, and possibly speaking about those two scenarios. I mean, if Plan A is going to pan out, definitely they will be very outgoing about that. But in case of Plan B, we also need to know what will happen in the future, right? And I have some ideas how they could be talking to us, and also how they could get institutions back on track and being willing to invest in NIO, and hopefully that we get out of this range-bound scenario here that we're currently in. And I'll be talking about that in my future videos. I'm talking about that in my Patreon community, in all members chat right now. But time for a video, maybe addressing NIO directly in a future video about this. And fingers crossed, right now everything pans out into scenario A. If not, plan B will be very volatile and not great to be as a retail investor. But I mean, currently we already know the unfortunate roller coaster that the NIO investment journey is, right? So thanks for watching. Hope that was insightful. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and see you in my next videos.